Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst team. I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Ranjin Ramannaika sentenced to 4 years of rigorous imprisonment for contempt of court. Convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, Venerable Ratkarawe Jinaratana Thero, arrested during a protest in Colombo. Colombo District Court dismisses the defamatory case filed by Dilip Javira against the Sandesha BBC Sinhala service. 165 more Ukrainian tourists arrive in the country. What is the truth behind the gold mine in Seruvilla?
Now those stories in detail. Parliamentarian Ranjin Ramannaika, who was found guilty on charges against him for contempt of court by the Supreme Court, was handed a 4-year sentence of rigorous imprisonment.
The case was called up in the presence of Supreme Court Justices Sisira Diabru, Vijit Malalgoda and P. Padman Surasena. Chair of the Supreme Court bench, Justice Sisira Diabru, delivering the verdict, finding the parliamentarian guilty, said the prosecution had proven beyond any reasonable doubt Ranjin Ramannaika had committed contempt of court in his comments to the media on judges and lawyers on the 21st of August 2017 opposite Temple Trees in Colombo. Justice Diabru further stated that the parliamentarian had purposely made the comments, and it was further proven through the comments made by him after leaving court proceedings on multiple occasions. The Attorney General filed charges against Ranjin Ramannaika pursuant to a complaint by retired Army officer Sunil Pereira alleging the statement made by Ranjin Ramannaika opposite Temple Trees on the 21st of August 2017 was in contempt of court. Senior Solicitor General Sarath Jayamanna represented the Attorney General's department in the case. This is the last hearing attended by the Senior Solicitor General representing the Attorney General's department.
මං කිසි දෙයක් ඉල්ලාස් කරගන්නේ නැහැ සමාව ඉල්ලන්නෙත් නැහැ. සත පහක් කොරකම් කරලා නැහැ. හම්බුණු සල්ලි පඩි සල්ලි ජනතාවට බෙදුවා. සල්ලි තාම ඉතුරුලා තියෙනවා මිලියන 4ක් හම්බුණා. ඒකෙන් දෙකයි බෙදන්න හම්බුනේ. සල්ලි බෙදන්න කියලා මා හිතේ දැම්මා. කවන්නේ නැහැ. අවුරුදු 7කට. මේ හොරකම් කරලා කුඩු විකුණලා නෙමෙයි. මම ආණ්ඩුවට කියනවා පිළිගන්න දැම්මා වගේ. දුමින්ද සිල්වා තෙලියට දාන්න. මේ දුමින්ද කුඩු කාර්යෝ ගැන කිව්වයි කියලා තමයි මාව ඇතුළට දාන්නේ. අපි බය නැහැ මං තනිකටයක්. දරුණක් බය නැහැ. තිත්තත් කතා කරනවා සමාව ඉල්ලන්නෙත් නැහැ. පොඩ ඉඳෝ මචං. හා මේක ඔය හිරු නේද මචං? නාරා හිරු කට්ටිය හරියට. පස්සේ අපි යනවා. වයින්ද. ඔකි ජයවා. අනේ මගේ ඩයරි වල මොකක්ද? එන ජයවා සියලු දෙනාට එయ్యගේ පිටයි. ජයවා. Okay. උන්ගෙන කිව්වයි කියලා මේ අතුරට දැම්මේ. තනිකර විසුද බල්ලි මූණේ බයක් ගෑවිලා තියෙනවද? ඕකෙන් අන්තරතුමා මොකද හිතන්නේ? හා මොකද කියන්නේ? එන ජයවා සියලු දෙනාට මම ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් යන්නේ හොරා කාලා නෙමෙයි මිනි මරලා නෙමෙයි පිල්ලයන් එළියේ රංජ ඇතුලේ.
Ranjin Ramannaika was brought to the Valikada prison at around 1:15 this afternoon. He was later transported to the Pallansena Juvenile Offenders Training College to undergo 14 days in quarantine.
The President, Prime Minister, Ministers, parliamentarians or anyone else will not interfere into the judicial process. If a person commits contempt of court, there is a legal mechanism to take action. The verdict was not issued in a few days. It took 3 years to try the case and to present facts to the court. After defamatory remarks were made at the Supreme Court, the Attorney General had filed a charge sheet against the accused. The views of all judges were taken into consideration over this matter. The charge sheet was prepared after this, allowing the accused to present their arguments. Previously, SB Dissanayake was also sent to prison for making a brief defamatory remark. A presidential pardon is granted under Section 34(1) of the Constitution. Anyone can read and understand that. There is a process of granting presidential pardon. It can be granted with or without conditions. A pardon can be granted completely or under certain conditions. The process has to be followed in connection to this matter. We saw how presidential pardons were granted in the past. Therefore, there is no need to talk about it. We have to let the process take its course.
The convener of the Inter-University Student Federation, Venerable Ratkarawe Jinarathnathero, was arrested in the Vijayaram area in Colombo. He was arrested for violating police restrictions and using speakers during a protest.
The Inter-University Student Federation gathered today afternoon opposite the Prime Minister's residence in Vijayaram to raise concerns regarding the alleged injustice caused to certain students in the enrollment of new students' universities for the year 2021 based on cut-off marks. During the protest, the convener of the union attempted to use speakers in order to address the students, and the police obstructed its use, pointing out that prior permission needs to be obtained for the use of speakers. Following the incident, 4 student representatives were given the opportunity to speak with the secretary to the minister, Gamini Senarath. The two parties agreed upon meeting during the final week of the month with the relevant official for a discussion.
The convener of the Inter-University Students Federation, Venerable Ratkarawe Jinarathnathero, who was arrested during the protest, was released on bail this evening. In more local news, the Colombo District Court dismissed a case filed by businessman Dilip Javira against the Sandeshya BBC Sinhala service with costs.
Businessman Dilip Jayavira had filed the case claiming that he was defamed as the Sandeshaya BBC Sinhala service had broadcast an interview with TNL Network Private Limited chairman Shan Wickramasinghe on the 26th of October 2011 and had carried an article quoting the same. Before filing the case with the Colombo District Court, Jayavira had sent a letter of demand to the Sandeshaya BBC Sinhala service claiming that the interview contained remarks which claim that he was involved in money laundering, making money through unlawful, illegal and dishonest means, drug trafficking, owning or leasing out a suite at a luxury hotel in Colombo along with Dumina Silva and several others, threatening and or caused to threaten Shan Wickramasinghe and another individual with death. Citing that the interview had caused defamation to him, Dilip Jayavira filed the case against the Sandeshaya BBC Sinhala service on the 10th of February 2012, seeking 10 million sterling pounds as damages. Colombo District Court Judge Rashanta Godavela dismissed the case with costs today after a prolonged trial. President's Counsel Romesh De Silva, along with Counsel Maxi Bastian, Sugat Caldera and Vasanta Kumar Niles appeared on behalf of the Sandeshaya BBC Sinhala service on the instruction of the DL&F Deserum legal firm. President's Counsel Ali Sabri and Counsel Samit Fernando appeared for the interests of businessman Dilip Jayavira until March 2020.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna staged a protest near the Presidential Secretariat against the sale of the East Container Terminal at the Colombo port to an Indian company.
The protest was staged opposite the Presidential Secretariat against the move to hand over the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port to an Indian company. Leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, Andrukumar Disanaika, and General Secretary Tilvin Silva were among the politicians and trade union representatives who took part in this demonstration.
We urge President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to come out and speak up. You have no right to be silent. Against a backdrop where the 6.9 million people who voted for him are against this move, he cannot be silent. You have to speak up and promise the people of this country that you will not sell off even 1% of the port to anyone. You have to come forward and promise the people that the East Container Terminal will not be snatched away from the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. If you are not willing to do that, this struggle we have launched today will spread across the country like wildfire.
ලැබුගින්නක් වගේ මේ රට පුරා ගමන් කරනවායි කියන එක අපි ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයාට මතක් කරමින් මේ සටනට ජය වේවා 1978 ඉඳන්.
Since 1978 in this country, people have formed governments, people have toppled governments. But take a moment and think. Have the people of this country formed a government or have they formed a brokerage company? The people who govern our country at the moment are brokers who sell off our national resources to foreign entities. These brokers have taken steps to hand over the East Container Terminal to the Adani group of companies since the day the Indian Minister of External Affairs came into the country. Basil Rajapaksa, P.B. Jayasundara and Rohit Abegunawardena have now taken steps to hand over the East Container Terminal to the Adani group of companies as fast as possible. What is this Adani group? Indian people are engaging in massive protests against them, blocking highways because the Adani group has overtaken their farmlands.
ඉන්දියාව පිහිටි අදානි සමාගම එලවන්න පාරට බැලලා රාජපක්ෂවරු එම සමාගම තමන්ගේ නේද ඇත්තගත්තු රිද්දාස්සන දාගන්න හදනවා.
Our greatest national resource is the sea that surrounds us. Over 8 times the size of our landmass. Let's proudly call it what it is. The Sea of Sri Lanka.
A batch of 165 Ukrainian tourists arrived in the country today. The tourists had arrived at Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport at 2:45 p.m. Meanwhile, 178 Ukrainian tourists left the country today.
Criticism was leveled against the Ukrainian tour group's excursion to Kandy today as well.
This road is only opened when either a state function is held or a high-profile event is organized. But it was opened yesterday. We are not allowed to travel on it now. We do not know who is behind this. If we want to enter the temple of the sacred tooth relic, we need to enter from here. Yesterday, every law was violated when COVID-19 patients from Ukraine were allowed to travel through the other gate instead of this one. Those people were not state leaders or VIPs. Those were ordinary citizens. We strongly condemn this. The Ukrainian tourists have not been brought down because they forced us into it. Sri Lanka requires foreign currency to meet the daily needs of the people, including electricity and pharmaceutical needs. The tourism industry is key to earning these foreign currency revenues. We have brought down the Ukrainian tourists to the country for the well-being of the ordinary people.
The hilarious situation is that these statements were made by parliamentarians and ministers in parliament. They don't understand the situation. At the same time, they are not aware of the person behind the decision to bring down Ukrainian tourists, but they make vociferous remarks in parliament to appease their leaders. Udayanga Weerathunga, who had a red warrant against his name, is the creator of the COVID-19 cluster involving the Ukrainian tourists. His remarks display scant regard to the country or its laws and regulations. How did Udayanga Weerathunga amass so much power? Did the government come into power pledging to allow this country to fall into the hands of racketeers?
The day in which Sri Lanka will receive the COVID-19 vaccine has given rise to a major societal discourse at present. These were the remarks expressed by State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa in Hambantota yesterday. Some doses have been brought down to Sri Lanka, but the founder of it, the United States itself, has admitted that it is not successful, although a large sum of money has been spent to purchase it. Some people have purchased the vaccine. There are instances in which the vaccine has caused side effects. As the government, we will pay attention to it as well. Lalit Weerathunga, who heads the Presidential Task Force on National Development and Vaccination Plan for COVID-19, said that a final decision has not been reached on the type of vaccine that would be imported to Sri Lanka. He added a decision would be made in the coming days. Weerathunga noted that vaccines against COVID-19 will not be imported without the approval of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority. The National Medicines Regulatory Authority told Newsfirst that it had issued the relevant details on the importation of vaccines to the government based on its request. The Chief Executive Officer of the NMRA, Dr. Kamal Jayasinghe, said a decision has not been reached about which vaccine will be imported to Sri Lanka. No private entity has registered with the NMRA for the importation of the COVID-19 vaccines. Meanwhile, State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Epidemics and COVID Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshani Fernandopoulos, said that plans have been made to begin the importation of the Oxford AstraZeneca and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines. The State Minister added that Lalit Weerathunga is holding discussions with India to import the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. The World Health Organization has said that it will also distribute the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine among countries. Attention has been drawn towards using the blood bank's cold storage facility with a temperature of -70 degrees for the storage of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines.
We now cross over to a short commercial break. More news on the other side. Back to the news. Cabinet approval has been granted to amend the Land Acquisition Act to ease the process of obtaining lands in the country.
The Cabinet has approved a proposal to amend the Land Acquisition Act No. 9 of 1950. This was after the Minister of Lands had submitted a proposal to amend the Act to enable the acquisition of lands under a simple method that minimizes the time taken for the land acquisition process and the payment of compensation. Meanwhile, the Cabinet has also decided to amend the Assistance to and Protection of Victims of Crime and Witnesses Act No. 4 of 2015. The objective is to amend Section 10 of of the Act to minimize inconveniences faced by suspects, as the provision requires bail applications to be filed at the Court of Appeal. The amendment would allow bail applications to be filed at the High Court instead of the Court of Appeal. Meanwhile, the Cabinet has also approved a proposal to import frozen coconut kernels as well.
If the bi-monthly coconut production is less than 450 million, then coconut kernel will be imported for the local coconut kernel related industries.
Views were expressed on the country's debt as well.
We have to settle $6,865 million in foreign debt inclusive of interest in 2021. The debt amounts to $5,351 million US, while the interest is worth $1,514 million. Our government has decided to depend on local sources to obtain debt. At the same time, the government is focusing on obtaining debt from local sources. Our government has also made a policy decision to refrain from obtaining debt for large-scale projects involving infrastructure. Instead, we hope to carry out these projects by forming public-private partnerships and by adopting the build, operate, transfer model, under which the private sector will be allowed to construct the project and transfers it to the government.
Journalists raised queries on fraudulent dealings on the import of sugar.
If the opposition has evidence, they can file complaints with the police and the commission to investigate allegations of bribery and corruption instead of making remarks at media briefings. We can then investigate these complaints and institute legal action against the wrongdoers regardless of their status.
Several politicians of the United National Party engaged in a religious event to invoke blessings at the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya.
United National Party politicians Navin Disanayaka, Mervin Silva, Ravi Karnanayaka and Arjuna Ranatunga participated at the event. The group of politicians arrived at the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya after engaging in a Kapruk Puja at the Kirivehera.
News First. The truth as it is.
Secretary to the Ministry of Environment, Specialist Dr. Anil Jasingha, elaborated on reports which have surfaced over a deposit of gold said to exist in Seruvilla. He made these remarks during a media briefing held today.
The size of the deposit has been exaggerated through the media. Neither I nor the minister has expressed any view to the media regarding it. The issue here is the media is made aware of news expeditiously. At times, not only laymen's, even those who bear a thorough understanding of science exaggerate these matters. That is a sad situation. The competent authority is the Ministry of Environment. Only this ministry can notify the people regarding these matters. I request all media institutions to bear that in mind.
The United National Party commented on moves that are underway to recruit lawyers as chief inspectors of police.
It has been said that 150 lawyers will be appointed as police inspectors. A reason has not been given on these moves to recruit these lawyers. Generally, a person with a law degree can only be recruited to the position of ASP. Such individuals are not recruited as police inspectors. If 150 lawyers are recruited to this position, what fate will befall those already in the police service? These moves have caused significant disgrace to lawyers. Our roles command a significant position. This is unnecessary.
The unveiling of the pinnacle of the newly constructed stupa at the Sri Paramananda Viharaya in Maddekanda Balangoda was held today. The event was presided over by the leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa.
The stupa was constructed under the Sasunata Aruna program carried out by the leader of the Samagi Jana Balawega, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
The religious event was organized in line with his 54th birthday. Buddhism through action is more important than Buddhism through words. Sasunata Aruna promotes practical Buddhism on this earth. In society today, many advise others to do the right thing, but they themselves engage in vices.
ලෝතුරා බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ දේශනා කළා තිබෙනවා අත්තානමේව පඨමම් පතිරූපේ නිවේසේ අතඤ්ඤමනුසාසෙය්‍ය නකිලිස්සෙය්‍ය පණ්ඩිතු. අනුන්ට
Ensure you are perfect before advising others.
පිහිටා සිටින්න. ඔවා දෙනු පරහට තමා සම්මතේ පිහිටා සිටින්න.
Meanwhile, the distribution of school uniform material took place at the residence of former President Ranasinghe Premadasa in Colombo. The event was held under the patronage of Hema Premadasa and had been organized in line with the birthday of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
A protest was held today at the Matava area in Kurunegala against sand mining taking place in the area.
Area residents staged the protest, citing environmental destruction and damages caused to an entry road to the village due to sand mining taking place in the area. A tense situation arose when an individual heading the sand mining operation arrived at the site of the protest. Attempts made by the police to disperse the protesters proved futile. Officers attached to the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau arrived at the scene of the protest as well. The transportation of sand from the mine was suspended as a license had not been issued by the Pradesh Sabha in the area to carry out mining. The crowd dispersed following the move to suspend these activities.
The Bandaranaike International Airport has been issued a certificate of accreditation by the Airports Council International in recognition of its commitment to prioritizing health and safety measures.
The accreditation has been issued by the Airports Council International Council following a thorough examination of the health and safety measures adopted at the Bandaranaike International Airport in response to the COVID-19 pandemic situation under their International Airport Health Accreditation Program. This program is designed to help reassure the travelling public that airport facilities remain safe and that precautions are being taken to reduce any risk to their health. Topics covered by the accreditation include cleaning and disinfection, physical distancing, staff protection, physical layout, passenger communications and passenger facilities.
The Integrity Icon organized by the Transparency International Sri Lanka was held in Colombo today. This is the third consecutive year that the TISL is holding its Integrity Icon.
The SMS Voting platform was open to the general public today to select the People's Choice Award winner. The nominations are reviewed by an independent panel of 5 judges.
The Integrity Icon 2020, the 5 icons have been selected, and today we open the public voting platform for the general public to vote. Basically, you can SMS, just type icon space and each icon will be given a number and just send it to 011-588-2626. Then we will have our awards ceremony where these votes will be counted, and we will also announce the People's Choice Award winner on the 24th of January. The voting will be open until 12 noon on the 22nd of January. It opened from today 12 noon.
Spill gates of 31 marine reservoirs out of 71 in total have been opened due to adverse weather. We leave you tonight with visuals from some of those reservoirs. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Martin Satyanesan along with our sign language interpreter Brian De Cruz. Take care and good night.